Welcome back to another episode of Accent Academy. I'm your accent guru, Ria Deshpande, and today we are going to be talking about the first letter of the alphabet, the A sound. So the A sound is really tricky because it's pronounced several different ways. And we're going to break down all of those different ways. And some of them have rules, but some of them don't. So our very first sound is the sound that you make when the A combines with the W, ah. I have actually separated this into a separate sound because I think it sounds so much like the O sound, ah. So I thought I'd throw that in just so that we can clarify that. Usually this sound is only made when you have an A and a W. So, if you wanted to say your day was great, you'd say, dude, my day was absolutely awesome. Or if your day wasn't so great, you'd say, my day was awful. Next, we have another sound. We have the eh. So I usually say that this sound is often coupled with an A and an N. Most sounds that are super nasally would come from an N because the N has special properties, which we'll get into in another episode. So, if you wanted to say that you and your significant other have been together for several weeks or years, and today is your celebration of that, you'd say, today is our anniversary. If you wanted to hear a native speaker say this tricky sound, just listen to this clip of Donald Trump.
And then they have cans of soup. Soup.
It's really important to know that the AN rule is flexible. It usually works really well with one-syllable words like fan, tan, ran, but it won't work well if it's towards the end of a big word with more than one syllable, because conversationally, we've learned to drop that stress if the stress is already in another part of the word, which it often is because it's towards the end. For example, our lovely word, American. We don't pronounce it as American because the stress is already gone on meh. So we've got American. Before you say woman, which I hear often, even though man is pronounced man, when you add w to it, it becomes two syllables. So you pronounce it as woman. Next we have the A sound. So this sound is actually really special. It's not a vowel, but it is something that we call a diphthong, which is common sounds that you make when you smash two letters together. So the A sound is often created by AY, or if we've got a consonant, and another vowel. I call it a vowel sandwich. So if we do have a vowel sandwich, what we're going to do is we're going to pronounce that A in the middle as an A. So we'd say day for AY, and for the vowel sandwich, we'd say something like dare. I dared her to jump into the pool. Another really easy way to remember this is that fair and fair are both homonyms. What that means is that they sound similar, but they have different meanings. So, if you're ever trying to remember the letter sandwich, you can always remember that, this is not fair, is also the same sound as, hey, what's the taxi fare today? That's crazy. For this next sound, we're gonna go back to the American example. When we have American, we already discussed that second A, but the first A actually sounds super different than anything I've talked about so far. American. Why does it sound like a U? Well, I can't tell you. Unfortunately, the English language isn't phonetic, and especially not the American accent. So, we can't really say as a definite rule why this one is not pronounced American. But the sound in American is actually what you'd use for the word I was going out for a walk with my dog. While this may differ from region to region, as I do hear people say, a man has fallen overboard, I, in my experience, do find it easier and more familiar to say a man has fallen overboard. I'd like to wrap up this episode with a reminder. I know a lot of Indian speakers are often very familiar with the British pronunciations. You'd say ask instead of ask, which is totally okay if you want to go for a British tone. But if you're speaking to an American and you want to sound American, you would say ask. I do realize that some of the pronunciations for British are very similar to Hindi words that we have. If you were to say, if you wanted to go say, I'm gonna go take a bath, that sounds like our Hindi word to speak, which is baat karna. So, look out for that. And if something sounds a little bit like Hindi, it may be a British pronunciation. By the way, we pronounce it as bath. That sound is pretty difficult, so I'll let American rapper Megan Thee Stallion show you how to do it. As always, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Accent Academy, the letter A. There is always more material in the description so that you can practice. They are broken up by the categories that I've explained in this very video. Timestamps are below if you want to practice that, or just go back to one particular part. Those will be in the description. And finally, thank you so much for watching. I'm your accent guru, Riya Deshpande, and I'll see you next time.